It started as a simple weekend trip. Four of us crammed into Jeremy's beat-up sedan and drove deep into the woods, chasing that promise of isolation. A cabin with no neighbors, no cell service, and nothing to distract us but each other. We joked along the way, trying to shake the nerves that always creep in when the road turns from pavement to gravel, when the trees close in on either side like a tunnel swallowing you whole. Mara sat beside me, legs crossed, sipping from a soda she wouldn't finish. Tess leaned against the window in the back, eyes half closed, pretending not to listen. Jeremy, of course, never stopped grinning. "This place is perfect," he said as he steered around a sharp bend. "No one for miles. Just us and the woods." Mara snorted. Translation: "No help if someone decides to kill us." We laughed, but it stuck in the air just a little too long. By the time we reached the cabin, the sun was down and the woods were dark. The place was old but sturdy, perched beside a lake whose waters looked black under the moon. The cabin creaked when we opened the door, dust swirling like breath in cold air. We unpacked, lit a fire, and gathered in the living room with half-empty beers. Shadows jumped across the walls. The deer head above the mantel seemed to glare. Tess muttered, "Feels like it's watching us." And none of us could quite shake the thought. Jeremy clapped his hands. "All right, let's do this. Scariest true story wins." "Wins what?" Mara asked. "Bragging rights." The fire cracked. We leaned in and the game began. "Lucas, that's me. I went first." I told them about the night back in high school, when my friends and I parked outside Jeremy's old house. We were laughing, killing time, when a white van crept into the driveway next door. It wasn't fast. It wasn't dramatic. It just rolled in and stopped. The man inside didn't get out for several minutes, and when he finally did, he looked completely ordinary. Dark hair, clean-shaven, maybe in his 40s. But it was midnight, and there he was, slowly walking up the driveway of a house that didn't belong to him. He didn't knock. He didn't ring the bell. He just stood at the door, peering through the glass like he was trying to see inside. We whispered about calling the cops, but we froze. It felt like if we moved, if we spoke, he'd turn and see us. He stayed there forever, 20 minutes of silence, of watching a stranger watch a house. Finally, he walked back to the van, started it up, and drove away. And for some stupid reason, we followed. The road was empty, just us and him. At first, he drove slow, like he didn't care. Then he sped up. We matched him until he disappeared into the night. I told them about the adrenaline, about how we laughed nervously when we realized that we'd been parked under a streetlight the whole time. Exposed. Visible. He could have seen us whenever he wanted. When I finished, no one spoke. The fire popped. Tess hugged her knees closer. Mara cleared her throat. "All right, my turn." Her voice hardened, but her hands trembled as she spoke. She was 17, working at a grocery store. A man in a silver minivan started showing up, slipping her his number, staring from across the lot, watching her through the windows. One night, he wrote a Craigslist ad. A missed connection. He described her down to the smallest detail. The bow in her hair, the wristbands, even the fake name tag she'd worn that day. He'd noticed. He'd remembered. Her manager tried to scare him off, but it didn't stop. Sometimes he was outside the store. Sometimes he was behind her in the aisles. Once, she turned and he was already there. Too fast, too close. The police had to get involved. Eventually, he stopped showing up. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just got better at hiding. By the time she finished, Tess was pale. She spoke quietly, almost whispering, but the story that spilled out was the worst yet. She'd been at a bus stop in a foreign city, late at night. At first, she didn't notice the woman on the bench across from her. Black dress, wide hat beside her, pale face that seemed almost sickly. Then Tess realized she was staring. Not glancing, not looking around. Staring directly at her, smiling with lips pulled back too wide, tongue darting across them, humming some tune under her breath. 10 minutes passed like that. Tess waved, said hello. Nothing. Just that stare. That grin, that hum. And then the woman lunged. Her nails cut into Tess's arms. She tried to bite. Tess shoved her back and ran, shirt tearing at the shoulder. She still had the scars to prove it. Her voice cracked. The fire flickered. None of us laughed. Finally, Jeremy leaned forward. His grin was gone. His voice was low. "I was working at a pizza shop. Night shift. Just me and a couple of friends. That's when we saw him. A clown, cheap costume, mask with blue hair. He walked past the windows, came back again, and again. He pressed his face to the glass, cupped his hands, tried to peer inside. He stayed for 2 hours. When one of us went to the car, he followed, stood there, locked on her, and started humping the air. We called the manager. By the time he came back, the clown was gone, but I'll never forget the way he moved, the way he lingered, like he had all the time in the world. Jeremy's voice trailed off. The fire dimmed, and in that silence, we all heard it. Faint but clear, a hum, low, off-key, floating through the woods outside the cabin. Tess froze, her lips parted. "That's her," she whispered. We scrambled to the windows. Nothing but trees, no light, no movement. "Probably a camper," Jeremy said, but his voice cracked. "No one camps in November," Tess shot back. The hum stopped. We tried to laugh it off, but the mood never returned. Mara kept glancing at the window. Lucas, me, I swore I saw headlights between the trees. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps at the back door. We froze. Jeremy whispered, "Remember my story? He never knocked." The knock didn't come again. Instead, headlights swept across the window. We turned, and there it was, a white van, idling just beyond the tree line. Mara's breath caught. The engine hummed, then cut. The lights died. Silence. Footsteps creaked across the porch. Slow, heavy, and the doorknob turned. We bolted for the back door, but it was already open. A crack wide enough for someone to slip through. Inside, the air smelled stale. Cigarette smoke. A dirty plate sat in the sink. An ashtray that hadn't been there before. "Someone's been here," I whispered. Then we heard it, breathing, in the next room. We ran. Out the back, into the forest, crashing through branches. The hum followed. Then laughter. Then footsteps. On the trail, we saw him. The man from my story. Sitting on a bench, rigid posture, teeth grinning through the dark. We veered off, deeper into the woods, until our lungs burned. In the clearing, we collapsed, gasping. Tess whispered what we were all thinking. "It's not random. They're not just stories. They're here." Figures emerged through the trees. The clown's mask, the pale woman, the man at the window. All of them watching. We stumbled back to the cabin, desperate for shelter. Slammed the door, piled furniture, tried to breathe. Then Mara's phone buzzed, a Craigslist notification. She opened it with trembling hands. The post read, "Saw you at the cabin. You had a bow in your hair." Her face went white, and that's when the headlights flooded the windows. Not one set. Dozens. White light pouring into every crack, every corner. Engines growled. Shadows stretched long and jagged. "They found us," Jeremy whispered. The hum rose again, mixed with a clown's laugh, a woman's shriek, the steady breathing of something too close. The doorknob rattled, and then the window shattered. Figures poured inside. The last thing I saw was Mara's phone screen lighting up with another post. "We're watching you," and then darkness.